Good morning, everybody, and welcome to a morning game drive safari on the Rietspruit Game Reserve in the Lowveld of South Africa. I hope you're all doing really well. It is a lovely, cool morning here this morning compared to what we have had over the last several days. And hopefully that means we'll see a bit more as we're driving around. My name is Gareth, and on camera this morning I have Andrew. I have had an update on the radio.
Hey Brent, are you still with the Jackal Hunt?
There are a couple of stations out and they found some rhinos. And the pride lions that we have on the Rietspruit Game Reserve are around Hippo Dam, which is on Kaya. Unfortunately, that's just out of our traverse, which is unfortunate for us. We were planning to go and look for them.
Went on to Blowbank about 10 minutes ago.
Okay, copy. I didn't get that message. Thanks.
And we've got a grey heron here at Mamba Dam. You can hear a red-chested cuckoo calling and the drainage line next to the dam here. I did see I saw something moving around behind this heron. There is a common duiker coming out of the bush there. There we go. Looks like a little male. We see duikers so much on the Rietspruit Game Reserve. Often they just dart away from us.
Station on lock with the try that if I don't try to switch it, I'll like to respond to that. I'm about 3 minutes out.
So it's actually quite nice to have a duiker on camera for this long. It's largely because we're on the other side of the dam and the duiker feels confident with our presence here. There's a little bit of wind here this morning. It's going to walk in front of that heron. So just notice there as it's running through this little bit of an open spot where the inflow of the dam from the drainage line is just moving a bit quicker. Prefers to be in the thicker vegetation, just a bit of safety. They're able to blend in a little bit better using their camouflage. And just feel a little bit safer in case there is a predator out. They don't want to be caught out in the open. Back to our grey heron. You often find grey herons around water bodies like this, and it's not uncommon to see them alone. They are generally solitary. see it looking around. So they are largely going to be feeding on aquatic species, and that's why we see them around water bodies mostly. And you quite often see herons generally that forage in water bodies standing in the water and standing really still. And they're just waiting for an aquatic species, fish or frogs mostly, to swim past them, and then they'll stab it with their bill. And then they pretty much just swallow their prey whole. They do try and get it down head first. You'll see them repositioning their catch, throwing it up, trying to catch it with their bill, and they're trying to just position their head first. When they do, then swallow it whole. And they catch bigger fish. You watch storks and herons, you can actually see it going down that entire neck, which is quite long. And grey herons are known to parasitize other birds along watercourses like cormorants, maybe some of the smaller birds like gulls occasionally. If you do get gulls on these water bodies that are inland away from the ocean, we do get a species, particularly the grey hooded gulls. I think we'll leave this grey heron to do what it's doing and see what else we can find. It's nice that it's been standing really still for us, allowed us to get a good view of it. Oh, and as I say that, it's flying off. So that's good timing. Good timing on our behalf. Let's go and see if there's anything else that we can find. Oh, gotta remember to take the handbrake, or put the handbrake off. Tends to help, yeah. It's amazing how you develop little sort of routines when you're guiding, and with different vehicles you need to do different things when you stop. While I was working at Mala, we never used the handbrakes. The handbrakes were pretty much disconnected. You just park the car in gear and it would hold its position, and then when you're ready to go, you just drive. So I'm still in that habit of just driving off when I'm starting up the car again and moving. But with these little chimneys that we have at Painteddog, the car rolls a little bit when you are stopped, so I do use the handbrake a lot more, but then I haven't got into the habits of taking the handbrake down before driving off, and I always end up stalling. I'm sure I'll get there at some point soon, hopefully. So we're just going to kind of see where the roads take us. This morning we were hoping to come across tracks of lions and go and track them, but with them having been found, you've probably heard it on the radio, in an area that we don't traverse. We'll just see what else we can find this morning. It's a lovely morning to be out. It's not so windy like it was a couple of mornings ago. It's not hot. We've got a nice thick covering of clouds this morning, and we also had clouds yesterday afternoon, which means that the temperatures have dropped a little bit, which is really pleasant. I don't know if you saw the Tchagra that flew across the road, but one of the two Tchagra species we see here just flew across the road in front of us. They spent a lot of time in the scrubby bush, and it's pretty difficult to get them on camera. But we get brown-crowned and black-crowned Tchagras in this area. I'm desperate to see the southern Tchagra, which you see along the coastline of South Africa. And I've attempted on a couple of occasions to get it, but have been unsuccessful. Going to stop up here at the top. Maybe I don't need to use the handbrake and I don't stall in front of all of you again. I'll just show you what a Tchagra looks like, and maybe also just show you what the spelling of that is, because it is a bit of a different kind of spelling. Just get up my bird app here. Okay. Now, in all likelihood, this is the Tchagra that we saw. I'm going to put it here. This is the brown-crowned Tchagra. And you can see on these Robert Bird apps, it's quite nice. They give these little keys when you turn the phone and you just have the picture. But this is probably what came across in front of us. You can see a nice hooked bill. That's because this bird is predatory. It will look for things like lizards, maybe small rodents, maybe small birds. It's like a... try and show you, and there we go. So we're up here above Lesotho, and it's in the prime distribution. You can see there's a picture of it, not the art illustration. And then if I just go back there, the three different species of Tchagras that we do get in southern Africa. Well, 4 species, sorry. You've got the black-crowned, the brown-crowned, which we get, the southern, and then there's the marsh. Where's the marsh Tchagra found? Only up in northern Mozambique. That's why I haven't really paid much attention to that one. But the southern Tchagra is one that I'm trying to get, and you can see that distribution is along the coastline. I've spent a bit of time down here and recently over here, and was unable to catch up with this one. Andrew's taunting me here, saying he's going to show me when he's on the coastline for December break. If you'll see one, rub it in while I'm up here in the Lowveld. Oh, handbrake, Gareth, handbrake. All of that hard work to not embarrass myself, and then I go and do that again. So those are Tchagras, they're one of the brown birds. It's not too much about them, but they do have a little bit more coloration with white and that kind of rufous color and black, which makes them pretty, but there's not much separating the four species. Okay, so Andrew's asking me a question here, testing me. He says it's dumb, but probably going to be pretty good, and I might be stumped.
Are the Tchagras part of the shrike family? Just considering that bullshit.
So are Tchagras part of the shrike family? I think they're in that general grouping of birds, yeah, but not shrikes because of the name. They were part of that, like close relatives, they would have been grouped with the shrikes. In this area we get orange-breasted shrike, bush shrike, grey-headed bush shrike. Oh, what's on the tree in front of us? Since we're on the topic of birds, there's a, looks like one of our brown eagle species sitting up there. Am I right? No! We've got a dark chanting goshawk. At a distance it's just grey-brown from the naked eye, but when you zoom in and you get a little bit of definition, it's easy to see that it's a a dark chanting goshawk. I always confuse myself between the two, but we get dark chanting goshawks up here. Pale chantings are found more in the sort of arid areas and down south along the coast. Dark chanting goshawk. You can see those nice orange legs and an orange bill. Down here in the Lowveld area of South Africa, we're actually down in the sort of southern parts of their distribution. There are two there.
Look to the right.
Ah, yes, behind all the trees there, the canopy. There's a pair of them here. And the dark chanting goshawk kind of across Zimbabwe, a little bit of northern Botswana, Caprivi Strip, Mozambique. Whereas the pale chanting goshawk is kind of in the areas that the dark chanting goshawk isn't found. Most of Botswana and then the western kind of half of South Africa and Namibia. So they're kind of split on the high veld, low veld, lower lying areas, avoiding the dark chanting goshawk I'm referring to, avoiding the dry, arid areas. Yep. Morning, the pride are around Hippo Dam at the inlet with both the males. And there were rhinos seen around Lodge Pan. I think there's one station still there maybe. And then there are rhinos on Kudu North, on Kaya. Sorry about that, just giving an update. And these dark chanting goshawks are found here throughout the year. They are residents. They don't generally move too far from the area that you see them quite a lot. And they like to be found in these broad-leafed kind of woodland areas like you can see around us, the top of this big tree. In acacia kind of woodlands, knobthorns particularly in this area. And then they're found sort of up into Zambezi teak, Mapanis, and that's why they're found on the eastern parts of southern Africa avoiding the dry areas. They prefer the broader leaf woodlands and the higher rainfall areas. So they just perch at the top of these trees like this, and goshawks in general kind of hunt from perches. So you can see it sitting there on an exposed perch looking around constantly, and this is quite typical of a species while it's looking for food. And if it does see something, it will swoop down from there and catch it. Their diet's kind of got smaller mammals like rodents, maybe some mongooses, although mongoose are a little bit bigger than kind of your common rodents in the area. And then some of your ground birds, maybe guinea fowl would be on the upper end of what they would catch, but spurfowl and franklins, doves, and maybe every now and again some invertebrates, beetles on the ground, especially at this time of the year. Lots of insects about. I wonder if there is a change in their diet between winter months in the dry season and the summer months in our wet season when there's a lot more insects about. I'm sure they make up a good percentage of their diet at this time of the year, invertebrates. Whereas in the dry season there's not a lot of insects about, so maybe they don't going to be having a lot of them. Alrighty, this one's quite happy and perched in its spot there looking for food. Hasn't really found anything of interest just yet, so we'll carry on, see if there's more birds to be seen that sit nicely like this dark chanting goshawk has for us. Did the other one fly off, Andrew? Looks like we've got some civet tracks here. Looks like maybe a civet was walking here this morning. One of our nocturnal species, which in summer we don't see a lot of because it's quite hot and the day length is long. But it's a species that we do see a little bit more in the winter, the dry months of winter when day length is short and the temperatures are cooler.
A while ago, there were also Rhino and calf on a bushveld on Leadwood, which is the track north of the north of Lodgetown, the bushveld where the lions were the other day.
Alright, copy. Thank you very much. I'll take a forward trail just now.
We did put a camera trap up in the sun slot, and maybe we'll see if we drive the sun slot this morning. See if there's any sign of leopard in there, maybe rhinos. Been a bit cooler, they'll probably be out and about moving around though. Maybe we go change the SD card and the batteries on that camera, see if there's been any activity there. That'll be quite fun when we get back to camp. Just want to say a nice warm welcome to all of our pack members that might be watching. Hope you've been having a fantastic time. And everybody else that's watching on a different platforms, hope you're enjoying it. New to Painteddog TV, welcome. Let's go up to Seskant Crypt, see if there's any rhinos there. Oh, where the elephants are. We've seen an elephant here up in this area a couple of times in the last few days. And if you are a pack member, remember over this holiday period, the key word is who. Woo! And that is a photograph that you can get your hands on, one of Andrew's of the spotted eagle owl. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about by now. Just remember to send that keyword through to Painteddog or info@painteddog.tv. We'll send you that high-res image. And if you're wondering how you can get this photograph and what being a pack member is actually all about, you need to subscribe and be a Patreon member of Painteddog Pack. And that gives you access to our private YouTube channel where you can ask us questions in the comments that we get to and you interact with us. Also gets you access to these keyword photographs if you send the keyword through, and some other content. But you got to be a Patreon member. Subscribe to being a pack member. Yeah, so if you are wondering and you want to figure out how to do that, there is information on our YouTube stream in the description. So if you're watching on a different platform, go along there to our YouTube channel, find a stream, and you'll get the description section. And all the information to being a pack member is there. Follow the links. I can hear a lot of birds calling. There's one that's just landed on the road there, starling. Oh. Jumped up into that leadwood tree there. Like we were describing earlier with the dark chanting goshawk, this starling was sitting on a perch and swooped down onto the road. So I'm sure it caught some form of invertebrate. Looks like a Cape Glossy starling. Quite common in this area. And you can see, as its name suggests, that glossy kind of coloration on the feathers. Bouncing around in the leadwood there. Keep going. You can see some impalas moving across the road quite far in front of us. Okay, so when I saw those impalas just now, they looked like they were crossing the road somewhere around here. This is a little bit of a thicker section along the road. I was hoping that they were in more of the section that opens up in front of us. Which it may not have been. I think it was around here somewhere. Okay, here's all their tracks on the road. It's really nice and open through here, and this is where I was hoping they were. But I think it may have been a little further back. This is a beautiful section. Opens up quite a bit. There's lots of little seasonal pans that fill up. We're on the crest between the two river systems. Okay, I can see some more impala up ahead. Maybe they've been at the little water hole that's here. Seskankrip. There's a female impala. There's a few more here. Where there's one, there will be more. You'll see there's some more coming from right to left. The rest of the herd moving across the road here. You can see two females walked across the road there, and then we've got two males on screen now, a third male popping up there. Remember, all of the antelope species that we see here, well, the vast majority of them, the females do not have horns and the males have horns. There are a couple of exceptions to that though. The wildebeest is one that springs to mind where both have horns. And then on the Rietspruit Game Reserve we do see eland. Very rarely, I'm yet to see one. A couple of days ago there were a couple seen. And the male and females both have horns. Are there any more to cross the road? It doesn't look like it. I think they were catching up to the rest that have already crossed over. So we'll go forward, see if we get the herd a bit better in this open stuff before they move to go feeding for the day. They'll feed through the day. There are actually a couple more. Oh, the light is coming through and hitting the trees here beautifully. There are more impalas all around this little water hole here. Beautiful light coming through the clouds as that sun breaks through. You look at all these impala running across the road now, catching up with the rest of the herd. A male taking a second to just have a look at us. Oh, big jump. That was really nice. Just as the sun broke through the clouds, we had those impalas running through screen. There's another one trying to catch up now. Impalas are such a fascinating species. There's so much to learn about them. They're often so overlooked just because of how common they are in the Lowveld particularly. This is a stronghold for impalas. There's so much information, you could almost talk endlessly on impalas. Something that I always find so interesting about them is, since the spread of people across Africa, and we'll just use South Africa as an example, we'll see if we can get them with the mountains behind them now. They are the only species to have expanded their range in South Africa. And what I mean by that is most species have had contractions of their range because of human settlements growth, the need for people to have land and agriculture. And impalas were kind of restricted to the eastern bits of the country and the northern parts of South Africa. But because of how well that they are able to adapt to an environment, they've been moved across the country by people because they are so adaptable. They're mixed feeders, which means that they can feed on grass as well as browse, mostly leaves, maybe flowers from time to time at certain times of the year. And they're so adaptable, they're so well suited, especially the synchronization of their birthing, which they do this time of the year. All the females give birth at the same time. They're a sought after prey species for most predators. So doing that synchronization of their birthing means there's so many babies around, it's impossible for predators to pick all of them off. But they found in ecotone habitats. So between open grassy areas and really, really thick areas, they found kind of in that interface between the two, which we call an ecotone, and you get this mixed ecotone. And that's where impalas do really well because of the fact that they're grazers and browsers, being mixed feeders. And they breed really successfully, and they are a really pretty antelope, so they've been put into most game reserves through the country, and some of those they would not have been found historically. So that's what's resulted in this great expansion of the impala's range through South Africa. The only species to really have done that so successfully like them. Beautiful light coming through into this area, nice with the mountains behind, like Andrew got there when there they are again. You can see the cloud cover is still pretty consistent across the whole sky over the mountains there. Does make for some pretty scenery there. All right. Let's keep exploring these central parts of the reserve between the two rivers. I think we'll make our way down towards maybe the northern parts of the deep slope and then across to the sun slope and have a look around there. See, there's a little hide there watching this waterhole. We're looking over the waterhole so people can sit in there and watch what's happening. this calling in here? Where are they just... Just looking for a bird that was calling. I think it may have moved off there. Keep going back here, trying to get closer to... I wonder if it's a tawny flank prinia. I think they moved onto this side, Andrew. Birding is so tricky to get them all because they just move around so much. It was so loud close to the road on the left, and then it flew across the road when we passed it when it was calling. I wonder where the elephants are. There's lots of sign of them all over the place. Their dung and trees being broken and bark being stripped off. Sounds like there might be a bit of a bird party moving through here. Maybe it's worth us just sitting here and trying to get a couple of species on camera. There were some dark-capped bulbuls that I saw. There's a squirrel calling. Yeah, there's a little squirrel that's just moving behind this marula tree that's calling. Hopefully it will run up the tree and sit somewhere that we can see it. There we go. It's going up the marula tree here, calling. That how it flicks that tail up while it's calling. It doesn't really want to show itself here. So they're kind of...
This is Richard leaving the Tridon Hippo Dam on Unlock.
Really common little rodent in these areas. These tree squirrels, they're also known as bush squirrels. Do kind of live an arboreal lifestyle in amongst the trees constantly. Maybe they will scamper along the ground at times. They're mostly seen in trees. They nest in little cavities in the trees, spots where broken branches have fallen off the tree. I wonder what it's calling about. It's always a challenge trying to figure out what squirrels are calling about, whether it's an alarm call, although this isn't really an alarm call. I think it's more sort of like a chatter. It's gone back up the marula tree again. We are in summer, and these are the breeding months for tree squirrels. It's jumped across to another little branch there, and I can see it's urinating, maybe sort of marking. Too quick. You often see tree squirrels in little groups. On colder mornings like this, it's not uncommon to see these squirrels in small little groups. As they try and warm up, they all huddle together in a spot in a tree that's catching some light, maybe male and female and their offspring all together. Live in these little communal groups, go off foraging on their own, looking for little pieces of vegetation. Marula trees are quite common to see, well, it's quite common to see tree squirrels and marulas. They often have nice little cavities for these squirrels, and the squirrels love the nuts from the marula when they've dropped their fruit. They go and harvest those for the dry season. You often see them carrying these the marula fruits to store up for the winter months. Alrighty, we'll leave this little squirrel to itself. Continue doing what it's doing. And in the Lowveld, that's the only squirrel we see. There's another squirrel in southern Africa that is indigenous, and that's the ground squirrel. Just like the name suggests, they're found on the ground, but they're found in more arid areas. When you go to the Karoo and into the semi-arid areas and maybe northern South Africa, into Botswana, you see the ground squirrels quite a lot, and they live in these little colonies. They burrow underground. They're quite cute. But up here, all we get is the bush or the tree squirrel. Just trying to look at some tracks here. It looks like a porcupine walked here last night. It's not the greatest of tracks to show you what a porcupine track looks like. Have to see if we can get a better example of that. Sounds like a striped kingfisher calling off to our left here, quite a way off.
Morning, Matt. The Painteddog dam is obviously female. There were Rhino earlier also on fire on Kitty North, but there was a Rhino sleeping at Lodge Hand a while ago in the inflow. Rhino and calf on the Trail, and a Rhino and calf on Completum.
There are a couple of rhino sightings up in the north, southern parts of Leadwood that we might make our way up towards. Okay, I see it there. But Andrew, while I was listening to the radio, Andrew has spotted a bird. Oh, bird of prey. What is it? Yeah, maybe brown snake eagle that was sitting in a dry tree up here, and as we got into position, it flew off, which is so often the case when it comes to birding. You see these birds, and as soon as you get your binoculars up to look at them, they fly off. But I missed it because I was listening to the radio. It sounds like there's a rhino sleeping around a lodge pan. I think we're going to try and get up to that rhino and spend some time with it, which would be really nice. We're not too far from where that rhino is. There's a nice seasonal pan here to the right, which I'm sure rhinos will love. You can see it behind me there. A little bit of water here. Rhinos, warthogs come and wallow in this little pan. I'm sure when it's hot days, they'll make use of that, maybe even the elephants. They come and mud bath. Coat their skin with some mud to protect it from the sun. Also get rid of some of these external parasites that are found on these animals' skins. Like any good treatment, a mud bath treatment does wonders for rhino, warthog and elephants. Looks like the elephants have been here recently. There's several broken trees around. Maybe this one was a little while ago. There's like a road that's formed around it. I feel like it's not too difficult to move that out the way. Have to just make a note of that so somebody can come along and move it. Where does that road go? It looks like a pretty road. Things have all greened up a little bit since I've got back, and okay, it goes back down there. Let's do that. Get onto low wildebeest because it just looks pretty in here, and then loop around to where Lodge Pan is to go to these. I think it's one rhino. I think earlier there might have been a couple. It's amazing how the landscape changes so much after some good rain. It's rejuvenated. Makes some areas that were during the dry season previously quite drab and quite dull. You get this green grass coming up. It really adds this feeling of life. And when you see these spots, it looks so much more pleasant to drive through them. This is the sun slit that we're dropping down into now. Maybe we'll pop up towards those rhinos and then see what happens. They just want to check some tracks here. Somebody's recently driven here. Just trying to get a better view. Yeah, okay, so it looks like another porcupine walking through, maybe two, because there's tracks on either side of the road. Walking through the sun slit. This is where we were intending to come to check that camera trap out. But I think we'll go up to where these rhino are, or rhino one. But have a look down this riverbed as we cross through it. It is beautiful in that direction. There's always the possibility of finding interesting little things along here. Got a stick under the car. Come off, maybe. I hope it's a stick. Can't hear it now, so I assume it was a stick that's become dislodged and dropped off the car. Every now and again you get something that catches your eye and you gotta bob and weave your head a bit to try and get a better look at it through the trees, but it was just a log on the ground. Sometimes they look like they could be one of the cats lying down. The stations I'd like to respond to the rhino at Lodge Pan. I'm about 5 out. Copy. So the rhino have moved from Lodge Pan. Somebody's trying to find them. They've got some tracks. We'll just go up there and see if we can help find it. When we go up onto Leadwood, it's a little bit more open. So maybe we'll see some things like giraffe, zebras, the wildebeest. This is where that eland was seen the other day. There's also a little family of jackals up here. There's a pair that have Boo Trail. Copy, I'd like to respond there. Yeah, in like 5 minutes out. Okay, he's managed to find the Rhino. Try and get there. Let's also just keep an eye out for these little jackals. There's, like I said, there's a pair. And they have, I think they had 5 pups. I wonder if they've still got 5. I actually haven't seen them yet. Every time I come up here, they don't get found. You hear about them on the radio. They were seen this morning at this pan that we're going to be close by. We'll go up to where the rhinos are and then maybe have a look around.
I'm going to join you from the east floor.
This is Lodge Pan, where these rhinos were, and then they've just moved north from here. It looks like there's another grey heron there in the pan. Yeah, there's another grey heron. This is a Lodge Pan. You can see the grey heron there again. Yep. We spent some good time with one this morning, so I think we'll just carry on. But look at that scene with the mountains up behind that pan. Really pretty. Keep an eye out. The jackals were there this morning. The pups are big now, so they're not staying in a den, which makes it a bit harder. They're moving about this whole area. So it looks like the rhinos walked on that little game trail. I just saw some tracks going up there. So we're going to go on this road. There's some giraffe. Let's see, try and get a nice gap for you all. Nice big female giraffe. Look at that. Beautiful. And there's some zebra in front of us. There's some more giraffe in front of us. Like I was saying, this area is a little bit more open. So behind those giraffe legs are the zebras. You can hear some oxpeckers that are following all of these animals around. I know this herd of zebra, well, one of the herds of zebra that I've seen up in this area had a couple of little foals a little while ago. It would be cute if we can see some of them. I'm just going to come across to the female giraffe that's in a little bit of a better spot. You can see her chewing there, probably just ruminating, chewing on the cud. Just breaking down that browse material a little bit more. It's always interesting when you watch giraffe when they are doing this ruminating, chewing the cud, you'll see that material come up and down the neck. Now she's definitely going to hide behind this marula tree when she does it. Try and roll forward real quickly. But look, I can't, the car doesn't want to go, I've got to start up. Let's see if we go a lot more forward. Rather than just a little bit, we might get a better view of her, and she's deciding to walk, excuse me, into more thick stuff. Let's see if we get a view. There is a male on this side and all the zebra. It looks like there's wildebeest as well. It's all happening up here. I don't know if you can just sort of notice that difference between the male and the female. It's a bit difficult now, I understand. We don't have them side by side for a comparison. But if you look at the top of their head on those ossicones, those horn-like structures, they are horns, but they're just called ossicones. There's a little bit of a difference there. But you can see how they kind of got that balding effect on the top. So males spar, and they swing their necks and they hit each other with those. And in the process of doing that through their lives, from when they're young, they'll start doing it for practice, developing the skills that are necessary. They start wearing the hair that's on top of those ossicones down. So they kind of get this balding effect, which the females don't get because the females don't spar. So the females have these fluffy ossicones, whereas the males have these sort of balding ossicones from that process of just rubbing that hair off through sparring. See this giraffe got an itchy leg there. It strips those leaves off of the branch, just wraps his really thick lips around them and strips them off. They do feed a lot on thorn trees, giraffes do. And their mouth, their lips, their tongue are really well adapted to dealing with thorns. So just stripping all those leaves off, not actually breaking the branch and eating the branch with the leaves, but just wants to get the leaves. So you see that tongue comes around, wraps around the branch, and then it just lifts its head and strips all of those leaves off. So you'll notice that this giraffe isn't feeding at the full length of the neck. It's kind of bending its neck down to feed almost at shoulder height. And that's quite common for giraffe. They don't always just feed at the top of their neck. But there's the wildebeest. Nice little herd. Standing around. A couple of their heads are down as they're feeding. Is there a baby to the left there, Andrew? Just on the other side. Just a little bit further left. There. Is that a baby wildebeest or is it a yearling? Ah, it's got horns, hey? Yeah, just at a distance with the head down, it looked more brown. The zebbies coming towards us. So this time of the year, the wildebeest are starting to give birth to their youngsters. A couple of baby wildebeest have been seen already this season, but they haven't all given birth. So I was just wondering when I saw that lighter colour on the left there and amongst the grass.
Slowly move on the westerly direction, off the Glossy trail, and ascend it for now.
But it's one from last year. Nice to see all these zebras and wildebeest, a couple of giraffe in the area, a mixed feeding herd. I think the rhino aren't too far from here, so maybe we should go and see them because this vehicle is just leaving them. And these zebra and wildebeest don't look like they're going too far, so it'd be really nice to see that rhino and before it moves into some thick stuff, because it is moving quite quickly west apparently. And then we can come back to this nice grouping of zebra and wildebeest just now, because they're not moving too quickly. They found a nice little resource patch here. Morning, how you doing?
Yourself?
All good, thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Slowly moving into a thicket there.
Is it? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll try and catch up
Right.
to it now.
Yeah.
Come back to these zebra and wildebeest. Thanks so much.
Right.
Cheers, eh? See more zebras here. So he just told us that the rhino are moving into a bit of a thicker patch. So I think it's a good thing that we can try and catch up to them quickly. There's lots of zebra and wildebeest here to come back to. There's lots. No baby wildebeest you can see, and oh, there is one there. But it's in quite a bit of a thick patch. We'll come back. There's the rhino there, look. There we go. Yay, we got what we came for. Lots of animals in this area. This is a real productive little spot this morning. So these are two white rhinos grazing there. A female and her calf. I'm just listening to the radio. There's a bit of breakup, but somebody was saying something.
Male cheetah on higher public fence line. Approximately 100 meters distance.
Somebody's just found the two male cheetahs there on Kaya as well at the moment. It's so nice to see these rhinos. There's no hope, Andrew. Got
Yeah,
that
looks
torn
like
left ear.
Looks like it, especially the calf's quite big.
Yeah. So this female's name is No Hope, and she was brought onto the Rietspruit Game Reserve, and she hadn't had a calf yet.
Yeah, they didn't think she was going
And
to
they didn't think she was fertile. They thought she was barren. And since she's been here, I think this is her fifth calf. So a real good investment for the Rietspruit Game Reserve. Most of our rhinos have come from this female. This is her 5th little calf. And to think that when she came here, she was almost given away to the Rietspruit Game Reserve because she was thought to be infertile. It's proven to be, she just enjoyed the Rietspruit Game Reserve and is doing really well. So her name of No Hope was because there was no hope of any calves. And she's gone to prove everybody wrong. Clearly where she was before she was here, she just didn't fancy it. But you can see that ear, so that's a nice identification feature on this female. Just got a little tear there. This happens, they do tear their ears occasionally. And these days, because of the poaching situation across South Africa, we notch their ears. So we do put little markings in their ears, often little triangles or squares, so that we can identify every individual. If they don't already have a feature like No Hope's ear, we'll add something in there. Nothing too big, just small. Helps the monitoring teams keep tabs on the rhino populations. And that's done generally when we do any horn trimming. We trim the horns just to deter anybody trying to come and get these rhinos. So it will be done in one operation. Let's see if they come out. They're kind of feeding back to more of an open patch now. There must be something really good in the soils here because we've got this big grouping of wildebeest and zebra behind us. We've got some rhinos here as well, all of which are grazers. So there must be some really good grasses growing in this area. Go back a bit. Andrew reckons if we go back a bit, we'll get a better angle on these rhinos. They are going through a little bit of a thick patch there, but I think just on the other side of this patch is nice and open for them. Just let me know when you're good. Good. There we go. There's a nice gap. She's feeding back into more of a clearing. We might have to go back to where we were just now. She's walking back there. She's changed direction. I think this road bends around. Let's see if we go quite a bit back and get them coming towards us here, Andrew. Now she's changed direction and is coming. Looks like she's coming straight towards us now. So let's, before we move back, just use that there. I don't think she's actually moving in any particular direction at the moment. She just maybe found a really good spot of grasses here that she's spending some time feeding. Rhinos have exceptional olfactory system. So their sense of smell is really good, and they'll smell out all the good grasses that they want to feed off of, and they will go and select for those. Rhinos as mega herbivores, so mega herbivore are one of these big herbivores. Rhinos, hippos, giraffe, and elephants. fulfill that kind of mega herbivore space. Sorry, I just paused there because I did hear something behind us where these zebra and wildebeest are. It's like a little snort. You can see that little baby there. This little one, how old is it? 2 years old. Yeah, makes sense. Looking at that horn size, it's probably somewhere around there. Like maybe 18 months to 2 years. I need to try and get a better detail there for you all. But just looking at that horn growth, see, they're just moving back towards this thicket that we were hoping to get them on the other side of. So when babies are growing, they invest a lot of energy, obviously, into growth. And one of the things that does grow quite quickly is their horn when they're little. You think about it, when they're grown up, and either if they're a male or a female, if they're a male, they're defending territory a lot, so they're investing a lot of energy into that. And they sharpen their horns a lot. So once we take the horns off as a preventative measure to protect the rhinos, they don't grow that quickly in the older age classes in adults because they're investing energy into different things. So reproduction would be a big one. Males doing territorial movements as well as trying to sharpen their horns and just shape them. They grind them down quite a bit. So you don't see as quick a growth in them. And then females are investing a lot of energy into the rearing of calves. So they're not putting energy into their horns growth. But when the rhinos are young and they're not investing energy into reproductive activities, whether that's territorial activity or reproductive activity, raising calves and females, they can just invest a lot of time into growing. And one of the things that does grow quite quickly is the horn when they're young. And that makes sense. When you're young and you're not having to use energy in different sort of elements or aspects of your life, grow the horn quickly. And then when you are doing reproductive or putting energy into reproductive output, maybe you slow down your growth of your horn because your horn's already established. And what rhinos use those horns for, if you're a male, you're fighting for dominance, and if you're a female, maybe you're using it to defend your calves. But these animals are so big that they don't really have much to worry about in terms of predators. That doesn't mean that they're exempt from predation. But over the last several years, with dehorning and now horn trimming been implemented to keep rhinos alive, we haven't seen a lot of negative effects of it. You might have a case here and there of predation, but taking the horn off of these animals to keep them alive and deter poachers after the big poaching pandemic in the last sort of 15 years, the benefit of doing it far outweighs any negative effects at this stage. I'm not seeing any real negative effects. And it is, just since we're on the topic of horns and dehorning, it has been shown to be the best deterrent to poachers. And it works hand in hand with APU efforts and security and canine teams and all the other processes that we've put in place to keep rhinos safe. But taking the horns off through a dehorning and then horn trimming processes has been really successful in keeping rhinos safe. See that little red-billed oxpecker on this calf? They feed off of external parasites. So they always accompany your larger herbivores. You found on anything from a warthog up to rhinos and giraffe. You don't see oxpeckers on elephants generally. I have seen a couple of photographs. I haven't seen oxpeckers on elephants myself, but I've seen a couple of photographs with some oxpeckers on elephants. But then you don't really see oxpeckers on things like steenbok or duikers. But you see them a lot on rhinos, giraffe, impala, warthogs. Let's go back onto something that I was touching on earlier before we got onto the topic of the horn, just seeing that baby's horn growing nicely. As mega herbivores, rhinos have an important role in the system. They remove a lot of biomass as a population, grass biomass that is, and that facilitates the growth of grasses and the establishment of grazing lawns. So I think many of you may know like the lawns that you have at home or in any resorts that you might go to. It's a similar thing out here in the wild, except we don't manicure the bush and the lawns. That's created by rhinos and then maintained by other grazing species. So rhinos have got that really wide lip, the white rhino that is. And with that lip that's about 30 centimeters wide, they graze and they remove a lot of grass. And their lips are really, when they do sort of eat the grass, really low to the ground, cropping that grass really short. I'm just going to wait while this vehicle passes us. And what they do when they eat that grass in that manner, cutting it really short, they select for grasses that are really palatable, and that stimulates the growth of that grass. And you end up having these lawns that get created. And then that grass is growing quite nicely. It's getting cropped quite short. It wants to it stimulates growth, so that grass keeps growing. And then you get other herbivores that come into the area, other grazers like impala, zebra. The zebra prefer a little bit of a longer grass, but wildebeest. And they come in there and they maintain those grazing lawns with rhinos. But rhinos are really important in establishing those. And then there's a lot of data that suggests that historically when rhino populations were a lot larger than they are today, that this sort of grazing lawn effect that they have, there's a red-crested Quran calling in front of us, would have had a role to play in fire suppression. So they crop the grass really short, and if big fires came through an area, there isn't a lot of biomass for those fires to burn, and that might slow down and stop fires when there were a lot of rhinos creating a lot of these grazing lawns. I'm going to go back and see if we can get a better view on these rhinos now, because they're kind of moving where they were earlier. The zebra and wildebeest haven't gone anywhere. We'll see if we get another look at these rhino and maybe put on screen these zebra and wildebeest. It looks like the wildebeest are actually settling down. A few of them are lying down here. Andrew, let me know when you've got a good gap there. And if it looks like we're going to get a good gap. Yeah, let's see. Just going to put ourselves here. There's a bit of opening around these rhinos. Just going to keep grazing in this area, and maybe she'll pop out into a nice open patch for us for another look. a lot of the time we just got to be patient and wait. Try and predict where they're going to move, and we position ourselves for that. There's the calf. They're not really coming out into the open for us, are they? They're just milling about here as they feed and moving into areas that they've got good palatable grasses. I think with these rhinos not really coming to open, we'll just see what the female does here. If she follows the kind of calf into that thicker area, maybe we'll go and see the zebra and wildebeest a bit better. Just see what she's doing. She's kind of following the calf, but she's also on the edge of this little bit of an open patch, so if she decides to turn around and come towards us, it'll get quite nice.
Patients managed to locate the 3 white rhinos that were on Kaya Guru South side. They just here on Zandspruit loop.
She's not coming towards us, going away from us. Okay, I think let's go and try and see if we can see the zebras and the wildebeest a bit better. See if we can find that baby wildebeest that I thought I saw. They often lie down in the long grass and you just see their head and ears. So when we were trying to get the rhinos on just now, I thought I saw one. So we'll just spend some time with them here. There's a nice opening we can put them on. There's a lot of wildebeest here. I'm just going to turn around up here. Just off the road. There's also this kuran that keeps calling. I wonder if it's going to display at some point. Okay, where's the nicest opening to show you these wildebeest? It's probably back there. It's so difficult to get a great angle with the camera through the thick stuff. Your eyes do wonders. You can see through it all. But there, the wildebeest and the zebra. There is a smaller wildebeest there, but that's from last year. That's a yearling. You can see this big wildebeest at the back is probably the dominant bull of this herd. or this area, and the herd is in it.
The pride and the two males are hunting. They've moved west up the secondary inflow. One female and one male still visible, but the rest have disappeared into the block.
There's a baby zebra there at the back behind all of the wildebeest. Let's see if it comes into shot. Is that it? That's a little foal, yep. Not so little anymore, they grow so quickly. I think there's 2 foals from this herd. They're about 2 months old now. Oh, there's the baby wildebeest. There we go. So cute. It's trying to stimulate the flow of milk there. That's my first baby wildebeest of the season. And Andrew's. So cute. A little bit confused now. Wildebeest all sort of moving away from us. They've all decided at once to kind of start walking north here. As soon as the camera, they're camera shy. The wind is also like picked up a little bit, and I wonder if they want to go and find a bit of shelter just so that their hearing isn't impaired by the wind a bit. Okay, since that, let's see if we get another angle here. It looks like there might be another gap to see the rest of the herd and the zebras on the other side, but I think the wind's unsettling the zebra and wildebeest here, because they're all just moving a bit, trying to get more sort of into the thicker stuff where the wind is broken by the trees and their hearing's better. And they all kind of did it at the same time. Quite interesting to observe there. There's tails constantly swishing from side to side, both the zebra and the wildebeest there. The ideal fly swats, especially in summer at this time of the year. There's so many flies around. So those tails are never stopping. Have the work cut out for them.
I'm leaving the log of these 3 white rhinos, 1 cow and 2 cows on that side loop, open loop.
Yeah. All just moving off there. So nice to see a lot of animals together. Zebra, wildebeest. We initially had those 2 giraffe. We'll see if we can get another angle, but I think they're moving north away from this road into the thicker stuff with this wind that's picked up a bit. And the rhinos have gone south off of this road. Just trying to look around. I can still see the zebras and wildebeests through here, but they are just sort of maybe out of reach of the camera. just because of how thick it is. It's like I was saying just now, our eyes are amazing. Although this road does bend here, so maybe we'll get a better angle and we can put them back on. When you're looking at them through the thick stuff, our eyes kind of remove all of the obstacles, which is a lot harder when you try and put the camera on them. But there are some zebras closer here with the road having bent. But maybe we can, I don't know if it's going to be much good. There's a couple of zebras there at 4 o'clock. Not 4 o'clock, what's that? 7 o'clock, Andrew, that might be better. Although this one's providing us with the goods. I commented on it earlier when we first came here that when it gets more open we might see more of these animals, and this area is relatively open. I mean, the camera doesn't really do it as much justice, and you probably find because there are less trees in this area compared to where we were this morning that there's better grasses growing here, and that's why we've got a nice concentration of both zebra and wildebeest. We've got the 2 rhinos here as well. There's just maybe more grasses, better opportunity for grasses to grow here because it's not as thick with trees. Often we find when we come up to the northern parts of the reserve here, we do tend to see more zebra and wildebeest. And the more time these herbivores spend in this area, we were talking about those grazing lawns earlier, the more that they crop the grasses shorter and the more the grasses are stimulated to grow because they're obviously trying to take the most or make the most of the growing season. And that just means that we get this, oh, they're all moving off to the right here, zebra and wildebeest. You just get the stimulation of really good palatable grasses growing, and you get the effect is kind of like circular. Whereas the herbivores spend more time here, the grasses are stimulated to grow more because they've been fed on a lot. So then the herbivores want to constantly spend more time here, and you just get this effect where this whole area becomes really productive for game viewing. Okay, I think let's see if we get another angle on these animals in front of us. I'm just going to have a look. The road bends and all the zebra and wildebeest sort of came out across here. So we might get a better view of them. Otherwise, if the road doesn't bend around enough, I think we've had a wonderful bit of time with this nice concentration of game here. We'll see if we can find those jackals. Go past that pan again and see. It doesn't actually look like the road's going to bend enough to where these animals are spending time along the thicket here. So I think we're going to carry on. That's been wonderful though. Yeah, nice to see a big concentration of zebra and wildebeest and actually making a big herd here. Yeah, the road didn't bend up quite enough to get a good view on those animals. So I think we're going to go on and we'll go down to Lodge Pan and just see if there's any sign of those jackals. Maybe they've returned there with sort of as the days progressed a bit here. They were seen there early this morning. Maybe with a few vehicles coming through, they moved away a little bit and maybe they've come back into that spot. And then if there's nothing at the pan, I think we'll continue and see if we can find anything else. Oh, there's some European bee eaters that Andrew thinks he might try and get them. There's a nice flock flying through here. Gone. You hear them a lot more than you can actually see them. We did get them briefly. The stations. I'm leaving the area of the white rhino and calf on Mbovu Trail, just west of Lodge Pan Road. It's a nice concentration of zebra and wildebeest in the area. It's an open lock. Yeah, the giraffe again. This is a better view of them. They're gonna stay. There's the two.
Just have sighting of a leopard kudu south on Kaya Junction with the Caracal crossing. Just visually went Hannah went across towards the river that took an eye on.
You just get a better angle on these giraffe as they move through there. There we go. Moving through a nice clearing. So these are the two that we saw earlier at first when we were looking for those rhino before we saw the zebra and wildebeest. And maybe you can see that difference that I was talking about earlier with their ossicones. The male on the right and closest to us at the moment, you can see how broad those ossicones are. You can't quite see the balding effect from this angle that we have on him, but you can see how thick those ossicones are. And then if we go across to the female, you can see that balding effect now that he's moved his head. Sorry, Andrew. Just the top of his ossicones there don't really have much hair on them. We go across to the female, you can see her ossicones are a lot... There, that's even better, both of them in the same shot. Her ossicones are narrower, and also they have that fluffy hair on the top there, which the male doesn't have. You can see that now he's lifted his head. That's nice. You can see what I was talking about earlier. We didn't have the greatest example earlier. You should just see the size difference in the two animals. The male's slightly taller. He's a younger male, so he's not towering above this female, but generally the males would be half a meter, if not a bit bigger than that of them, taller than them. The males are larger than females, but this isn't a old male, so he's not noticeably bigger than her when he was next to her. It's nice. Thanks for standing out in the open for us, boy. quite nice with him facing in sort of the other direction at the moment. You can see how long his eyelashes are. And that just helps protect the eyes when they're feeding in trees. Like an early warning system is getting close to branches or thorns. And you can just move their head, a little bit tactile feeling there when they are browsing, putting their heads into a whole number of trees. You want to keep those eyes safe. Giraffe have really good eyesight. And you find a lot of the herbivore species that are smaller than giraffe might associate with them. Just using giraffe's height advantage to look over trees, to keep an eye out for predators with that great eyesight that they have. So they want to keep those eyes safe, and they've developed these over a long time, long eyelashes, just to keep those eyes safe. It's just looking in the direction that that female moved off in just now. Watching what she's up to. And he's going to follow where she's gone. Right, well, we have a little bit of time. I think let's leave these giraffe. Just have a quick look around this pan and see if we can find these jackals. That giraffes now are moving off as well. Just have a quick look at this pan and see if there's jackals, and then drive a road that we didn't drive this morning into this area and see if there's any sign of them on the other side of this pan. But I suspect, because they're mostly active at night, that they have probably found a nice spot to spend the day. Spot peace and quiet. They kind of like to move around in the early morning and late afternoon, and then into the evening. You haven't seen these jackals, Andrew? No.
Tried it.
I don't think any of us from Painteddog have actually seen these jackals yet. Not, yeah, not for a lack of trying though. We've come up here several times to try and connect with these jackals from when they were first found in the den site to then now that they've left their den and they're moving about a little bit more. But we haven't really had much luck in trying to find them, which is a pity because little jackals are quite cute. And now that they're moving around and they're not restricted to a den, it makes our lives a little bit harder trying to find them because they're not reliably in one spot all the time.
So you can end up with this 2 male feeders on the entire southern fence line, close to what the Giraffe.
But we will keep trying. Hopefully soon we'll bring them to your screens. Some more zebras a little bit further away from the road and the thickets there. I'm really glad we made the journey up here to the northern parts of the reserve with the rhinos, because it's actually resulted in what I would say a very productive second half of our game drive. It's nice to see No Hope and her little calf are doing quite well. And then nice to see those zebra and the wildebeest, as well as some giraffe. Nice to see a nice concentration of all of those animals together in one little spot. It's a pity we couldn't connect with the jackals once again. They keep avoiding us, I think. It's been a really nice, pleasant morning out on the Rietspruit Game Reserve. Nice to see a lot of zebra and wildebeest. And from all of us at Painteddog TV, I hope you have a wonderful day further, and we'll see you on our next show. So until then, goodbye.